called Miracle on the Hudson, they call it. And the Miracle on the Hudson happened about 3.5 years ago. This pilot is taking off in a plane. He's the captain of a plane that's taking off out of LaGuardia Airport in New York City. Right at the critical moment of takeoff, they have a sudden, what they call a bird strike. A huge flock of birds unexpectedly is in the flight path of the plane. And boom, both engines shut down simultaneously. So now there's no engines, and the plane is starting to go down. So this is what you would call a recipe for disaster.
1.9, turn left lane 270.
This is Cactus 1539. Hit birds through lost thrust on both engines, returning back towards LaGuardia.
So here's this moment
you need to return to
where you've got to create reality. Depending upon what you do is going to be a disaster or a miracle, right? And so what the pilot was able to do, he'd never glided a plane that big before. He has to glide it with no engines. He has to find where can you put a plane. New York City, the only place he could see is the Hudson River. So he has to glide it, but keep it in the air so they don't run into any other boats, but you've got to get close enough to boats so that they can get there. This pilot then gets the plane on the water. The crew, he's got to get everybody out. The crew gets all the passengers out. The pilot walks the whole length of the airplane twice to make sure nobody's left on. He's the last one off. Everybody survives, right? The boats get everybody. A little different story than a certain Korean ferry of the last year and an Italian cruise ship of a couple of years ago where the pilots are the first ones off and 200 people die, right? Yeah. So the difference between miracle and disaster is the state of that pilot. Now, here's the interesting thing. They asked this pilot, they said, wow, you stayed so calm, you seemed so calm. Weren't you afraid? And I thought his response was interesting. He said, are you kidding? I've never been more afraid in my life, and I've never been more calm in my life. Right? We talk about coach versus crash. Coach is an acronym: centered, open, alert, connected, and then able to hold whatever's happening. So coach, C-O-A-C-H. Crash is contracted, reactive, kind of analysis, paralysis, separated, and instead of holding, sort of hurting or hating, So if the pilot's inner game crashed, right? Oh my God, right? Then the plane crashes, right? The outer game's lost. You lose the inner game, you will lose the outer game. If you can succeed in the inner game, that is, keep the channel open, right? Stay centered, stay open, stay aware, stay connected, then something good is likely to happen. Now, when they asked him, right, so this practice. So first is practice, which means that he brought intentionally a level of awareness to himself, that he realized my state makes a difference. Secondly, he said, well, I was the pilot, right? My mission is, I'm afraid, but I'm more than that, right? My mission is keep those people safe. And when people do things that are so-called superhuman, it's because they are more than themselves.